Hey there, welcome to the REI Conversion Podcast, where each episode we discuss strategies and digital tools to help you launch, automate, and scale your real estate investing business. Learn how to run your investing business remotely, find out ways to automate your business to better utilize your time, and learn what other successful investors are implementing so you can get to the next step closer to your investing goals. And I'm your host and founder of REI Conversion, Jesse Kwong. Hey, how's it going? This is Jesse of the REI Conversion Podcast. I've got a returning guest here. I've got Derek Schleeps, and he's someone who's dedicated his time solely on helping real estate investors generate more motivated seller leads through Facebook ads. It's pretty awesome with what he's been doing, and I've been in touch with Derek Schleeps for the last little while. We've had him on the podcast actually here for two other episodes, and it's all actually part of a mini part series that we're doing with him, again, all really on Facebook ads and getting motivated seller leads, or motivated seller leads. That's right. Derek, how's it going today?
Good, great. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, awesome. Derek, again, we've done two previous episodes already. Let's quickly summarize the sort of key points that we went through, or what we talked about in the last two episodes, just for those who haven't listened before. And those are podcast episode number 16 and 21. Derek, do you recall what we talked about?
Yeah, so the first one we essentially talked about different offers that you can present to attract motivated sellers. So we kind of spoke to, kind of using just basic direct response marketing ads, possibly doing video, things like that, lead magnets. And we kind of just went over what offers you can present to sellers, right, to attract them to, possibly use your services. In the podcast after that, we really delved deeper into kind of what the ads look like, what the ad copy looks like, what you actually want to put on there, how you want to present your offer, how you want to go about presenting, your different unique selling points or propositions, things like that. And so today that kind of brings us to the next step in that process, which is more like the actual landing pages and the follow-up.
Yeah, right. And it's I mean, doing paid advertising on Facebook is sort of I think a lot of investors sort of stay away from this just because they can't understand it, or they can't sort of put it into a graspable concept and understand of the full process of it. And that's what this whole series is really about, to kind of give you guys a general understanding of how it works, and give you a bit of knowledge in terms of running ads. And when you systemize this stuff can be actually very powerful, and can bring you consistent leads. Okay, so let's come back to this topic here. So when you're advertising, Derek, on Facebook, specifically for finding motivated sellers, well, what is the best way? We talked about the creative now, and now that they've seen the ad, what's the best way to sort of get them to submit their property?
Um, so I mean, after they've seen the ad, they've clicked through, they come to the landing page. Um, I mean, the main thing is you've got a lead form that you can use, or you can use a landing page, right? But either way, you want it to continue the consistency that you started from the beginning. So whatever kind of statements you're using, or whatever you're saying on your ad itself, you want that to be consistent actually on the lead form as well. So you want to be saying kind of the same kind of thing, right? But if you include too many questions, right, on your lead form, that's going to raise the likelihood that they're going to click out of it and not click through. So you're kind of juggling intent, right, versus how much information you want to get out of the lead. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. Um, so what you're saying is that, now, are you saying that it's a bad thing to ask it too many questions, um, or is it a good thing, or is it not a bad thing or a good thing? It just is what it is, and you have to do testing. What would you suggest?
Yeah, so it definitely depends, right? So if you have if you're doing Facebook ads, right? So with Facebook, essentially you're starting with a cold audience. Now, Facebook will put your ads by its algorithms in front of the right people, like kind of the lowest hanging fruit, that slice of the pie of your audience, based on the keywords in your ad, right? But even though you're doing that, even though Facebook is helping you with that, you're still starting with a cold audience. So your headline, and your ad, like we talked about in the last podcast, the image, the creative, that all kind of pulls in the attention of the motivated sellers. It attracts them, right? You present your offer, you present, you kind of speak to their pain points, and you draw them in to click through, right? You have your call to action. But like the whole thing is like when they get to the landing page, if you present them with a lot of different questions, if they aren't really that motivated or that interested, they're not going to submit as a lead, right? So your cost per lead in that case will go up. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does that answer what was your question again? Does that answer that?
I mean, is it a good thing to have a short form or long form
Right,
essentially?
right, right. Okay. So if you want lower cost per lead, you're going to want to go with a shorter form. If you want a higher cost per lead, then you can definitely use a longer form.
Right.
Or a higher intent. But if you're on Facebook and you've already got a warm audience, let's say that you're running retargeting ads, then in that case, you can definitely go with a longer form because they're already warmed up, if that makes sense.
Let's back it up. I'm not sure if everybody knows what a retargeting ad is. What is essentially a retargeting ad?
So, for example, if you've already been running ads on Facebook for a while, and then you have like an audience that you've created, you've collected data, you've got, Facebook has tracked all the different people that's been clicking on your ad. When that gets to a certain size, usually in the thousands, then you can start to create ads that just target that audience that maybe clicked on the ad but didn't submit their information. And at that point, then you have a more of a warm audience, right? Because you've already have some touch points with them. So that's one way of thinking of it.
Okay, got you. Now, coming to let's say the submission form on Facebook, and you're collecting leads through Facebook's form. Um, is it possible to have multi-step forms? Just out of curiosity, because that's something that we do on our websites. We in order to get them to submit their property, we try not to overwhelm them, and so we break our forms up into steps. Is that possible with Facebook forms?
Not with well, I think that you can. I don't ever. I think you can have multi-step questions, but I don't ever use that. The only time we would use something like that is when you're running traffic to a landing page or a website or something like that through Google Ads,
Okay.
because then, right, Google leads tend to be much higher intent, and because they're actively searching for someone to sell to, right through Google.
Versus Facebook, there's less intent because nobody's really searching to submit or to sell their property. It's sort of like if they see it, it'll pull them in, and then you'll submit they'll submit their property. Versus something like Google, like you said, there's a lot more intent because there's search intent behind that. Is that correct?
Kind of. So you're right with Google, right? So like if somebody is really motivated to sell and they only have, a short amount of time, they need to sell their property. The first thing they're going to do is go onto Google and they're going to search, okay, like who can buy my house? How much can I get for my house cash? Like, how can I sell this quickly, right? Facebook, it's a cold audience, right? They're not actively searching for you. They may not even know about you at all, right? So they may be ice cold. But Facebook tracks so much of the information about them. So like if they've clicked on any kind of an ad or have clicked on any kind of a post or page or anything related to selling their home, Facebook knows that. So like, I mean, you all, like everybody knows, like once you click on one ad on Facebook, then you're going to see a bunch of other ads similar to it.
Right.
And so Facebook knows that about these leads. So that's usually like the first group of people that Facebook shows your ad to is people that are already clicking on similar ads.
Got you. Got you. Okay. So now what? You've collected their form submission. What do you do? What's sort of the next step with that lead?
So yeah, once they've submitted as a lead, the speed of your follow up is extremely important. So but there are several things that we do, right? So you want to get with Google or Facebook, either one, you want to get in contact with them as soon as possible. I always tell the people that I work with that if you can call them in under 2 minutes, that's best. ideally just keep it to under 5 minutes is best. But um, the thing is, like, it's shown statistically that after 15 minutes, there's a much lower likelihood of getting in contact with them. Um, I mean, you still have opportunities to get in contact with them, but if you want to get in touch with them when you have their attention right then and there, like, that's the best time to do it statistically. Um, so that being said, what we do is especially for Facebook, the follow up is way more important. So we put them into something called drip campaigns. So if you think of just like, like rain dripping, like it's just kind of dripping out, text, email, ringless voicemail, throughout their day, right after they submitted, as a lead, that keeps going until they respond. So we're really, like, the whole point of it is to try to get a response from the lead to get them to interact back with you. Um, and the other level of that is kind of like also maybe in the emails providing value to them. So kind of educating them more about what you do, how it's different than a realtor, things like that.
Yeah, and I guess these are all sort of processes to continue to warm up that lead, um, and then eventually, I guess, close on that deal. Now, you mentioned about your drip campaigns. So you do everything like email, text. What else do you do, or those are the two main things?
Yeah, so email. So usually we'll fire off an email immediately so that the lead knows, that okay, like they got my submission, right?
Right.
But after that, we start, sending out text messages, ringless voicemails. So I'll have the investors actually record several different voicemails, and then we'll just upload that into our system. Um, because if once they hear, it's a little bit different just getting an email, and then getting a text is a different, and actually hearing someone's voice also as another effect, right? So ideally, all three is what we aim for. Um, but the most important thing is that the investor, is getting on top of it and making the phone calls quickly.
REI conversion websites are built to help you scale. Set up your site today to save time on both your acquisition and disposition sides of your business. Easily integrate with tools like Zapier, going from your site to your CRM or from your CRM to your site. Strategically designed themes built to optimize conversion rates for both buyer and seller leads, and custom built plugins by our team here at REI Conversion, helping you systemize your processes. Like our automated offers plugin to our sales post generator, all our plugins and themes work in perfect combination to help you grow, automate, and systemize the processes of your land or house investing business. Visit www.reiconversion.com today and launch your site and let it work for you, catching and generating more leads. Is there one that if somebody is sort of just getting started and they want to figure out and do sort of a drip campaign themselves, would you say email? Obviously, email is probably the easiest one, and you can tie that into your form and autoresponder pretty quickly. Um, would you say text or call is the next one that we'd say is the most important?
You mean like the voicemails?
Yes, right.
Yeah. So what I have noticed is just that like usually most people respond to the voicemails or the texts,
Okay.
more so than the emails. The emails are
Okay.
helpful, like I said, to kind of just like, for example, on Facebook, usually you'll get leads that have not submitted like the correct phone number just because the phone number attached to their Facebook account is
Uh,
no longer the correct number for them. So you'll get wrong numbers, but you'll get their email as well. And so, you're hitting them from all three angles. And often people that maybe had a wrong phone number will respond later to the emails.
okay.
But if it's correct, text or the voicemail is a better way to go.
Okay. And what if they don't answer, like, or they don't reply? What is sort of the order of things you do things, or what? I'm assuming you continue to follow up with them. How often do you follow up with them? What does that sort of process look like?
Right. So that's the thing with any kind of online marketing, you're going to have people that just never respond, that opt in, that are just tire kickers. That's part of the process. But you're going to see that way less with Google, just because those people, they're actively searching for an offer. They need it now. So they're going to be much more responsive than Facebook. But when it comes to the follow up with Facebook, the whole mindset that an investor should have about it is that, like I said, you're taking them from cold you're then, or actually you're taking them from ice, right? You're taking them from ice. They don't know you. They don't know they have a pain. They don't know that you can solve it. To now they're a cold lead, right? Which is they know about you, right? But maybe they don't really understand the pain that they have. They don't really understand how you can help. Um, and then through your continued maybe outreach to them through the drip campaigns or retargeting or whatever, you're starting to warm them up, meaning that now they understand, okay, like I actually have a pain and you actually can solve it. Um, and ideally, you want to get them on the phone, and that's when you convert them to a hot lead, which is like, okay, I need to sell now, right? But that process with Facebook can take a while. So the drip campaigns that we use go all the way out to like 140 days or so. Um, because sometimes you'll get a lead and then that lead won't be motivated to sell until 30, 60, sometimes even longer than that down the road, right, where they've actually become motivated. And so, but in terms of how much you should continue following up, I mean, if you call them and you don't get a hold of them, within you call in 2 minutes, they don't pick up. Okay, so call multiple times that day, but just different times during the day, right? Because they might not be available now, but maybe in the evening, or right. So you want to do that, but then just call every single day for the first 10 days is what I usually recommend, and then past that, continue to follow up with them, continue to call, pretty much until they tell you like hey, don't call anymore, or they respond.
Wow. So let's just say if somebody picked up that first day, you would continue to call them every day after that. And what would you say on those calls?
Well, I mean, what you're going to say, I mean, that comes down to the individual investor and how they go about their sales process. But honestly, like the most important thing is to establish and build that relationship early on with the leads, and that's really important actually for I mean, not just Facebook, but also for mainly for Google, or I shouldn't say mainly, but even more so for Google, just because with Google, like I said, they're actively reaching out online, trying to find someone to sell to. So it's highly likely that they've submitted offers, or they're asking for offers from more than just your company, your business, right? So that's why if you can get in contact with them sooner and start to build that relationship and that trust early on, then it's gonna be beneficial to you with that lead.
Okay. So we covered quite a bit here, and just to summarize what we've talked about, um, we talked about, okay, now we got that lead to submit their property. Now they can submit it through Google Forms or a landing page or website or whatever it might be, and then from there you're going to you have really minutes to sort of respond to that, and you're going to use Drip Campaign, whether it's through email, text, or voicemail. Um, Now, did I get the most of that, the gist of it?
Yeah, I'd say so. The whole, I mean, the main thing with the drip campaign too is to try to take some of that burden off of the investor, because it is a lot of work if they were doing all of that. So by adding in the ringless voicemail, especially, right, what happens is we end up getting inbound calls, because
Right,
the lead will actually, they'll submit, they'll get an email, they'll start getting text messages,
right.
and then they'll get this voicemail, and then usually what we see for the leads that do respond is they just call back. So then you're generating inbound calls for the investor, which is is great.
So essentially, all this stuff is automated.
Yeah, yeah, but you
Okay,
still like I still you should the invest the you should still be calling the leads, obviously, but I mean, yeah, it's the whole point is to essentially turn it around so that the investor is no longer constantly doing all this outbound outreach, right?
right.
Cold calling, texting, direct mail, like all these kind of things like that, and where you're turning around and now they're having leads coming inbound, reaching out to them.
Right, right, exactly. Is there any tools that you can sort of suggest in terms of this automation process?
I mean, there's all kinds of different tools you can use. I use a CRM called Go High Level just because it integrates so easily with Facebook, and it integrates with Zapier, and there's just so many different things that you can do with it. But I mean, you can use Active Campaign. You can use, I think, Sly Broadcast. I know that a lot of people use that for voicemail drops, but in terms of like actually automating, a lot of investors will use Podio,
Yep.
and in order to set up this kind of thing with Podio, you have to hire a Podio developer. so the benefit of using, something like the CRM that I use is just that you don't have to hire the developer. You just have like a separate, you have like a separate login with notifications for Go High Level. So that's the only difference.
Okay. Right on. Well, Derek, did I miss anything else that you wanted to cover in this sort of process and in these steps of, um, get the forms and following up with the leads? Did I miss anything?
I don't think you missed anything. I mean, there's like one good way to think about follow up is like if you are a lead, which like this is some good advice that I heard from someone that really made sense to me. So if you're a lead, you want to imagine, okay, like if I submitted into this ad and someone started following up with me, what you want to do is you want to think, okay, like if I was that lead, how much follow up would be annoying to me, right? Like
Right.
how many texts, how many emails, how many calls would kind of like annoy me, right?
Yep.
Okay, so if you can imagine that, now double that, and that's the amount that you should be following up with these people.
Holy smokes.
So, right, so like that's for Facebook specifically, that's a good mindset. I mean, with Google, like I said, it's not as important because the leads already are very high intent, right? They're either warm or hot leads already. But
Right.
when you're starting with a cold audience and you're trying to get in contact with them and establish that relationship, like that's the mindset that you should have.
What do you have to say to the people who said, "Hey, you know what? That's not my style. That's way too salesy. That's way too much." Like, you weren't kidding when you were saying you would follow them with them, follow up with them on a daily basis for 10 days. Essentially, if we're if you're saying double the amount of what you think is annoying, what do you have to say to those that are like, no, that's just not my way of doing things? Is it just their own worries getting to them? Um, or really like you should be doubling up on how much you think is annoying.
So I mean, like I have two thoughts on that, right? So like in in wholesaling, in real estate investing, in any kind of but I mean, just in general, in any kind of business, like the two money making activities of any business is the marketing and the follow up, right? So
Yeah.
like that's where you want to commit the most amount of your time. That's like the top two revenue generating activities in your business. So that's the first mindset that you should have. But I also understand that some investors, a lot of investors are, they're doing tons and tons of outbound outreach. They're working like 100-hour weeks. They're maybe already doing 2 to 5 deals a month, right? But they're working like crazy, right? They're trying to do a lot of things themselves. And so I understand that, like I empathize with that. That can be exhausting and like so like I get it if like you don't have just like the actual time to make that many phone calls, right? But like that's like the whole reason why doing like automated systems and setting up the paid ads and everything. That's the whole point behind it, is to take a lot of that burden off of you, so that you're not having to do everything all at once, right? Um, it's so like the like call every day for the first 10 days, if you could do that with all the leads, that's great. But I understand like some people, a lot of people, that's they don't have like a full sales team yet.
Well,
So you do your best, right? But
yeah,
like that's why I like to always make sure that we get the ringless voicemails put in there.
yeah.
That really helps.
What I mean, what if people are not scared about their own, their own time, but they're scared about the lead themselves and annoying and scaring them away? Has that happened before?
Where they're scared of the leads.
No, no, where they are scaring away or
They're
pushing away the
scaring
lead because it's just way too much. It's just so intense. Like, hey, this, I don't want to work with this guy. He's just, it's just too much to work with this guy, and he's too pushy. Is there ever, have you ever come across that?
I mean, so again, definitely probably more with Facebook, right? Because like I said, you're gonna get people that are just kind of like, they're just clicking through the ad, they're just interested. They're not, maybe they have in the back of their mind they're thinking about possibly selling their house or something,
Yeah,
right?
right.
But they're not very motivated yet.
Yep,
So maybe, sometimes that happens where someone's like, but they just ask like stop reaching out to me, right? And then at that point, you just leave them alone, right?
right.
you can follow up down the road and say like, hey, just checking in, but you're not like the point at that point, the goal no longer is to just get in contact with them. It's just to follow up with them, right? And to
Right.
just kind of continue that relationship.
Right. Right.
Um,
And
but
like you said, sometimes it takes about, even you have follow-ups that are, set up for 140 days. Is that correct?
yeah, hmm the the texts and emails especially will go out to about 140 days.
Okay. Right on. Derek, thanks again for coming on here, and I know you've been busy working with investors both on land and houses. If somebody wants to get in touch with you, what's sort of the best way?
Yeah, so just through the podcast, we have a page, I believe it was reiconversion.com/Facebook leads. Was that right?
Yes, that's right. Yep.
So yeah, you can just go on there and submit your information. And once you do, I'll go ahead and send you an email, send you a text, and we can just set up a phone call and
Yeah.
just kind of go from there. And I'm just happy just to talk and just learn about your goals and what you got going on in your business. So
Yeah, it's pretty cool to see some of the stuff that you're achieving. I know you post once in a while on your Facebook or your Instagram, and don't hesitate to post inside our group as well, the REI Conversion Community group, and share some of your results. It's some pretty cool stuff. So if you're interested in working with Derek, or even just pick his mind, feel free to, um, you know, post something inside the Facebook group that we have for REI Conversion, or come over to reiconversion.com/. Facebook leads, and then just submit your information, and then Derek will get a hold of you and see if you guys can make some goals. See if you guys can sort of align some goals and take action together. Derek, thanks again for coming on the show. Always a pleasure to have you sharing the process and your experience and what you've come to experience and learn through Facebook. Um, yeah, thanks again for coming in and sharing your knowledge here with us.
yeah, for sure. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right, we'll chat soon again.